Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, hospitality is making sure that, everybody feels like you're on their team. And,
Yeah.
we're serving between all our properties about 750,000 guests a year. We're going to burn a burger. We're going to make mistakes.
Exactly.
All of the empathy and forgiveness from our clientele is going to come through whether or not they like us.
Welcome to the Performance Revolution web series powered by Entegra. Before we get started, I want to jump right into, if you've joined us, this is why you should stay with us for the next 30 minutes. The experience on the call today can show your operation, no matter the size, how we really tie people into profitability. And it's a common conversation, but it's not executed as often as we would like. What we're going to talk about today is going to connect the two, and when done right, can multiply your profitability. And that's something that we both want. So before we get started, I want to introduce my two guests. Trevor, I'll let you do your introduction here in a minute. But before I do, I want the audience to learn a little bit about you. If you could go back to your 20-year-old self and just share a lesson, and I know we're getting older, my friend, we've been working in the industry together for a while, but to share your 20-year-old self, what would you go and tell yourself that would accelerate your leadership journey?
Spend all your time surrounding yourself with great people. You don't have all the answers. When I was younger, I had this thing called an ego. And the older I get, the more I realize that I'm more successful when I suppress that and just surround myself with great, intelligent people. That'd be my advice.
And just what was the shift when you realized, because what I've watched for those that are managers moving into leadership, when is there a moment when you kind of made that transition to be like, hey, and I can relate to the ego conversation, especially younger or even now. How do we surround ourselves with great people? Was there a moment or a shift where you started to step backstage and support others rather than lead just from the front?
Yeah, I think it was evolution for myself personally. There wasn't one cold, rainy, snowy day in February where it all came together. I think for me, it was just, when we're newer to the industry as operators, we spend a lot of time working in the business. And it's when you kind of get some great people around you, it affords you the luxury to not work so much in the business, but start working on the business. When you have some great people around you, that's when you can really kind of, for lack of a better term, move mountains.
Love it. Love it. A great way to introduce Sarah. We'll do full introductions in a second. But Sarah, just talk a little bit about how Entegra has brought insights or how you've seen some of your partners really put a people-first strategy in place. How does that show up for you in the work that you do with Entegra?
Yeah, I think one key insight Entegra's gained over the years is really the importance of simplifying operations to enable their leaders to focus on their people. By eliminating the day-to-day stress, we can empower those leaders to invest time in their people. Our solutions that we offer and our services really do free up time to focus less on the nuances and more what I think really drives long-term growth, which is building strong teams, enhancing their guest experience, and kind of creating an environment where both your people and your business can flourish, right? Yeah. We have different tools. We have a brand new tool called Entegra Shopping Assistant. It's a really cool AI-driven tool. It provides real-time insights showing operators not only which items on their order guide are rebates, but also offers alternatives so they can maximize their savings and they can really make those decisions effortless so that they can free up that time and focus on their people and focus on what really matters. So I think that would be one of the bigger insights.
And I can't say enough on how important that is. When there's so much technology now, and technology can take time before it provides it back. But when you have a partner, what's the compound impact of finding 2 hours a week for a leader to invest with your people or your guest by working with a partner that optimizes on the back end? It's those moments. And if we did that, we'd have weeks more a year to invest in our people and create a better guest experience. And those are the conversations I see that are active is how do you help me find time? And if I can find time in the right partnership alignment. Trevor, if you have any experience have you been able to find time in your business? I believe you're an Entegra partner from working, how have you been able to find time or reshift that time?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if the toilet's broke, I phone a plumber. When it comes to procurement strategy, I phone Entegra. The less things as operators we have to focus on, the more narrowed our focus can be. And obviously for us, that's the guest experience. So, with Entegra, it's good to know that we have a partner watching a lot of our purchase, helping us with a lot of our procurement and our strategy there, as it just leverages more time to work on the business for us.
I just want the audience to hear too. We're going to talk a bit about Entegra, but I want you to hear what was really underlying there. How do we find time to spend our energy on what matters most in our roles and our positions for our operation? That's really what we're talking about. And how do we have partners who help us provide that? So before we go farther, I just like that elevator pitch introduction. So Trevor, who are you? What do you do? Who do you serve?
I got a loving wife. I got a beautiful daughter. I'm a family guy. It took me, 40 years to get there, but family's everything these days. And when I'm not with my family, I oversee a couple large brew pubs, a few event spaces, some external event division of our brewing company, as well as I sit on the Canadian leadership team for Royal Unibrew International, and I oversee about 400 to 500 staff during peak seasons.
That's incredible. Thanks for sharing. And Sarah, tell me a little bit about you. Who are you? What do you do? Who do you serve?
So like Trevor, I'm a family person. I am a mom to a 7-year-old little boy. I come from a very big family, and I am very close with all my siblings. I am the Senior Director of Sales for Entegra Canada, where I currently lead the street sales team across the country. So our focus really is on helping businesses in the hospitality industry find ways to drive growth, streamline their operations, and really maximize their savings across their entire operation through their procurement. I've spent all of my career, I should say, in the vendor and GPO space, where I've worked with and led teams in the food service and hospitality industry. So I'm really passionate about leading people and watching people succeed. It's incredibly rewarding, and I'm really excited, and hopefully I can learn something today that I can bring back to my team.
Love it. Love it. Thank you both for the introductions. Now we're going to jump right in. The conversation is going to be quick today, but what I want to start with, and my belief is it's a people first industry. And then when we do the right behaviors, the profitability results will follow. So to stay in the theme of starting with people, Trevor, I just want you to share your experience, the live examples of what are kind of 1 to 3 things that you've done to build a positive culture. And maybe if we go back to kind of where you started to where you are, what would you recommend to anybody who's leading a team now or taking over a position of leadership?
Yeah, that's a deep question. There's a lot of layers there. I think culture it begins with laying a foundation. Find people that share your morals. Find people that believe in your compass. Surround yourself with people who want to do the right thing. When everybody's aligned there and the baseline's aligned, it really comes down to, for us personally, with the levels of staffing that we have, I believe a lot of it is in our selection. We look at hiring, I think, a little bit different than a lot of places. We feel that when a guest comes into one of our pubs, just like you, when you go to eat, you have 30 seconds, whether you realize if you like this person or not. So our interviews are typically no longer than 4 minutes. After 4 minutes, I find we become biased. So we're just looking for people who have that energy, can bring that energy, and share kind of some of the similar values in which that we believe our company has put forward. So for me, it's really about selection hiring. We actually call it the house party vibe. You go to a house party, you meet somebody for the first time, within 30 seconds if that's your people or not. We look at that as we hire, and then we take it a step further. You get 6,000 options in the GTA on where you want to go. When a guest chooses us, that's important. So 9 out of 10 restaurants are, hey, welcome to table for 2, right this way. But we want to take that house party vibe a little bit further. If you came over to my house, I'm not going to open the door and say, hi, 2 of you, would you like to sit in the kitchen or the living room? So to me, it is that simple. Surround yourself with like-minded individuals, and culture becomes just what it is. Culture is just, taking that strategy, and culture unfolds based on the strategy.
And is there, just because I'm so curious about that 4-minute interview, is there one kind of question without sharing your secret sauce, or is there something you jump into when diving into that 4-minute interview before bias takes over? I think that's brilliant, Trevor. I think it's something we can all take away, and I fully agree.
I don't want to undermine, what frontline workers do. But at the end of the day, we focus so much on task as an industry, and we focus so much on experience. I don't really care about it. I care about who you are. what your feelings are. How do you feel about X? Can you carry a conversation?
Yeah.
In an interview, I mean, we sit there and we ask question after question after question. I really like when people ask questions. It's not enough in this environment on, you need to do X to work for us, but a lot of it is what we need to do for you to ensure that this relationship continues and flourishes. So, yeah, I think interviewing for our industry is just a simple conversation to understand, who is this person, and how well they click in that interview is how well they're going to gel with the guests at the table.
Love it.
And I would agree with that. Like, I think me going into a restaurant, like, I choose where I'm going to go based on my service experience, not really what's on the menu or the food I had. It's not really what I remember. And I think people say all the time, people won't remember what you say or what you did, but they remember how you made them feel, right? And for me, it's the same. I really resonate with that going to a restaurant. Like, I pick restaurants in my town based on service for sure. And the people who serve you they make up all of that. So I think that's a really cool outlook and a way to interview people.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, hospitality is making sure that, everybody feels like you're on their team. And, we're serving between all our properties about 750,000 guests a year. We're going to burn a burger. We're going to make mistakes.
Exactly.
All of the empathy and forgiveness from our clientele is going to come through whether or not they like us. And so, we try to hire based on a likability factor. I like to think that our business, is a direct representation of the consumers we serve, which is everyone, which I think that's kind of cool. We have a lot of different walks of life. So we're able to kind of really understand how true diversification in a market that is so diverse connects people to our product and people to us at a very large level.
Love that. And Sarah, is there a time in you working with your partners where you've been in conversations or provided solutions to create that cultural clarity or the experience clarity or share stories or just help them create that feeling?
I think everything we do is really kind of tailored around that. I mean, we have hundreds of suppliers and vendors that we connect them with to kind of circle the operation and make all of the customer's experience positive, right? We have a ton of, we have a pretty cool HR service who can really help train your leaders and your staff in these areas to kind of help with that. So I think that would be one thing that we offer to help them. But I mean, like Trevor said, it's probably the most important part of your business is the people you have, the face of your business, right? The people you have serving. So yeah, I would say with training and services we offer, we definitely help with that, but we also help with other parts of the business so you guys can focus on that and focus on hiring the right people.
Love it. One thing I'd love to get into, because I think there's something ahead of, I can see value in alignment. I'm sure anybody who's watching or listening to this can see it as well, right? There's a common belief of how we approach creating a feeling. But I think leaders need to lead, and you're both in senior leadership positions. Trevor, I'd love to come back to you. You make a strong commitment to yourself. We've had a conversation offline about this, but I think one question I ask is, in order for our people to change to create the desired result, what do we need to change as leaders? On your, what have you learned about yourself as a leader that has started to create this shift? And then Sarah, with yourself, managing people across the country, how do you show up a certain way for your people to create the behavior that you want, even though we're not serving guests on both sides, but we are serving people?
Yeah, I think, for me personally, I have to be there. I have to show up. I have to be approachable. When we look at building teams, I know it's a word we've floated a million times, but empowering people, it's not enough to say that. I do not offer discounts for anybody. Because I don't know our guests at the level that our frontline staff does. So instead, it's, who deserves a free beer or who's celebrating something important. So we empower them to just take that promo line and do what you do with it. Again, making data-driven decisions. Let's take that approach. But in order to be able to take these approaches and to sustain the culture, we have to be extremely transparent. A dishwasher's goal is not to wash dishes as they come in. For us, they need to understand how that's connected to the big picture and what their impact is. And when people understand what their individual impact is to the big bet or the big goals, and we're transparent and we share everything with our staff, they understand what their contribution is to the larger team, and then they present ideas. Ideas come from every corner of our operation. So we want to ensure that we're just allowing people that creative freedom, and creating a laneway where they can come with great ideas. And it makes my job easy when they do, really, really easy. So.
And so just before we go into you to add to that, one thing I want the audience to look at, I think why Trevor can talk so fluidly and easily about this is he's created clarity around the vision, the intention, the feeling inside the operation. And sometimes we assume it, but do your people know your big bets, how you want to make your guests feel? Like, do we communicate so consistently, so relentlessly that I say that your people can actually do an impression of you sharing your values or intention? So I think what Trevor can talk about is because he's done the work up front to be able to clearly communicate it. Sarah, you lead people all over the country and they need to buy in. There's a lot in your space. So how do you get your people to buy into what you're looking to deliver to your partners, which I know isn't a GPO? I've heard other people say we're not a GPO. We are a
procurement partner.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think for me too, it's a lot different. Like Trevor is working hands-on with his employees. He's seeing them all the time. Like for us, we are spread out across the country, right? So it's really trying to make sure that I'm engaging and staying in constant communication and trying to find creative ways to feel like I'm with my people, right? So I can only be with them so many times a year, and I can only fly in everywhere I can be. But I think really just leading by example. I think culture is built by what you do, not just what you say, but also I show up for them. I give them all like a lot of time periods where we're on the screen, we're working together, because I think it's important to like have open communication and trust and make sure they feel heard and valued and supported, and I'm there for them. So I think for me, it's more, I have to find creative ways to show up for them, which is definitely harder, but I find a way to do it. And I think in today's world with all the data and digital tools we have, it's really neat, and it's been really fun to kind of learn, because I came from a previous role where I did lead a team close to me where I could be hands-on and be with them, and then coming over to this where I have to do a lot more from a virtual aspect has been a big adjustment for me. So,
and that's a great answer to what do I need to change in order for my people to change. So we've gone from live interaction to working in a virtual way, but showing up. One thing I want to acknowledge, and this isn't planned at all, but I want to acknowledge leadership when it shows up. And there's something that Sarah does that's so natural that if you're a leader out there, if you watch body language, tone, and how she communicates, it's very welcoming. It's very friendly. I also, as soon as I meet her, and Trevor, do you agree? Sorry for the comment. I don't know how to feel public to do this live on our recording, but this is important because managers lead by force and intention and language. Others lead in support. You can feel Sarah's energy before she even shares it. And Trevor, could you see that from before we even hit record? Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And it's something I think for us all, success leaves clues. If you're a leader out there looking to advance in your career, there's the opportunity. Body language, tone, and approach is something that can create change because it establishes trust. So now, if it's okay with the both of you, I want to shift over. We've talked a little bit about people. Now we want to get into profitability. I mean, we're all for-profit companies. I think profitability is a result of consistent human behavior. But Trevor, I really do believe you're one of the most effective operators that I've had experience to work with in the last 25 years. Not just saying that because we're on this, and I've shared that offline with you. But I think it's also very intentional. It's not by mistake. What are some of the areas that you're looking to measure, coach, support, and that impact your business? What are the key metrics that you're leaning into that are going to create the most change?
Yeah, I mean, we moved the goalposts year over year.
Yep.
Last year we had a really good year going after some efficiencies, some line items.
Yep.
Not a huge fan of doing that because I think it takes little skill to cut a business down to show more profit. So I'm more focused on, we all have yearly operating budgets, but our actions and decisions this year will have consequences 5 years down the line. So I like to kind of helicopter out, zoom out and look at a big picture. So our KPIs are funny to some, but my top KPI this year is beer samples. I want everybody to receive free beer. For me personally, in a world where prices are going up, where value is being diminished, where shrinkflation exists, here's an opportunity when everybody zigs, let's zag. If we do what they do, we results. So for us, come on in, get a free sample, and we believe in our products, we believe in our beer, and it's a great way to build that relationship right off the hop within that first minute or so. Other KPIs for me right now, it's going to be our staff's experience. So we've launched several surveys and whatnot. Our goal in hospitality is you got to care for your people better than anyone has ever cared for them in this industry. And if you do that, they'll care for you. And, care is a two-way street. And when you build those platonic relationships, you can do things that others just can only dream of. Another big KPI for us is, we're starting to be, I'm a little older, but I'm starting to be a little bit more educated on, the impact that food service has on the environment. So we're trying to, take our buildings, become more efficient. We've just been certified LEAF Level 1, Leaders in Environmental, Food Sustainability and Change. We're measuring our waste streams. And this is something that's really important and should be important to all of us, but extra important to kind of the new generation coming in is they've just received more education on it. So sometimes it's not, from a KPI standard, we always, how are we going to grow the bottom line? How are we going to grow that top line? But we have to have initiatives that are going to be, make us a choice employer because we're doing things the right way and we care about things more than just the bottom line. You take care of your people, like really take care of your people, and you really take care of your guests. We don't have to worry about the bottom line. It'll take care of itself.
I think two big cultural shifts that you kind of just touched on are really like employees in the market today are seeking employers who are equal, inclusive, and care about them, right? So obviously, like you said, like that's a big cultural shift I've seen in the last few years, as well as a big focus on sustainability. So I think it's really cool that those are your goals this year, because those are two of the biggest cultural shifts I've seen in my customers in the last little while. So
that's awesome.
And I want to kind of tie. I love both of your feedback, because I think there's something shared there that, as Trevor shared up front, it isn't common. But what we're looking at in the Canadian market in 2025 is the average operator is looking at double-digit transaction decline. That's what the trends share. If you look at a U.S. indicator, they're actually looking at higher, and we've got some really great data around it. But what do you think people can do to increase the experience? And again, I think what Trevor showed is it's a result is if they stay longer, the staff care, the guest has a better experience. What are your thoughts around what operators can do? And Sarah, I'll start with you and come back to Trevor. What can people do to
touched on it? It's really focusing on your people. I think investing in your people and really training, development, recognition, team building, but setting them up and making sure that they're happy in their job, they're really going to bring that to the customers, and they're going to increase customer loyalty and customer satisfaction, right? So I think that, like Trevor mentioned many times now, like that's probably the biggest one, because again, it's going to be a lot harder for people to go out. It's going to be a lot harder for people to do the things that the extra things, right? Because of all the increases in costs and pressure. But I think making sure they have that positive experience and are enjoying their customer service experience is going to be probably the number one thing in getting them to come back.
Trevor, anything to share there to add to?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, more importantly than just the bottom line is, we're trying to inspire in our leaders. Like you can do anything with your time. You have one life to live. We're not hamburgers and beer. I mean, we are, but we can choose to be so much more than that.
Yeah.
For me, I put a lot of uncomfortable pressure on myself that in many cases with a lot of our staff, this is their first experience of working. So let's set the bar high and let's change some of that negative narrative around the restaurant industry by being good people. And I'd like to think that, some people 10 years down the road, 15, 20 years down the road, I think a mark of what we're doing is they'll look back and say, wow, that's how a business should be ran. That's how we should treat people. And, regardless of profits and loss, I sleep well at night with that strategy.
I love that.
Yeah. And then one thing too, so it was intentional. So I brought some repetition back to that conversation because I think it's a pattern interrupt. So sometimes we just need to hold, if you're watching this, we have two high performing leaders influencing change in the industry across the country. But there's a conversation shift where they're talking about people where the most people are talking about guests. So one of the things, our goal here with the web series is to spark a thought and a conversation. So if you were taking notes right now, is what is our people-focused strategy? The chapter I wrote in my book 6 years ago now, what is our people commitment and strategy? And how do we put that in front of taking care of our people so they show up properly for our guests? I held there intentionally because I think it's not common, but it's obviously producing some pretty remarkable results. As we get into our final couple of questions here, Sarah, I wanted to come to you because when I wanted to put some texture and actual tactics around how can Entegra help your partners focus on profitability or find avenues? Like, what is an actual direct tactical solution that they could pick up the phone, call one of your people, message, and would allow them to focus on driving profitability or people?
Well, I think what a lot of people don't realize in our program, we really have two parts of our program. Well, a lot of people think Entegra, they think GPO, they think food. Food is sure, it's a start, but it's not really a lot of what we do. We really focus on our local and direct program and what's outside of food and helping businesses in everything else. We have a ton of programs where we can help them support, like I said, with HR services, with the Entegra shopping assistant, with purchasing, but we can help them with uniforms, mats, chemicals, services to fix their HVAC, their elevators. We have a full suite and full offering of programs that will drive their growth and profitability extremely over a year. And a lot of those people don't really use it or focus on it. Yeah. And it's so hard for us to try to shift the narrative and get people to kind of take advantage of those programs, right? Yeah. We at Entegra definitely have too, a full team of diverse backgrounds. We have people from the vendor community, the distribution partners. We have chefs. We have people from other GPOs, but we also have people who come from healthcare, lodging. You mentioned, you've spoken to some of my colleagues, but that really gives us a full suite of subject matter experts who can really offer real hands-on insights to our clients and help them deliver. We help deliver an unmatched level of service. So I think really pulling on that and using Entegra for everything we have to offer is really going to help. And I think that's where we really need to get our customers fully engaged and taking advantage of the full suite of offering we do offer.
And I think that's right. So if you're an operator out there listening, it's just looking at the operation. If you want change, if you want something different for your business, you have to do something different. And one thing I like is, how do we stay curious a little bit longer about how all of our partners can support us? We're in this together. Like Mai said, I do not exist as a coach and a speaker if the industry isn't healthy. So if I'm not bringing different solutions forward, but how do you have, Sarah can lead, but how do you drive a curious conversation just to find out what you're currently utilizing and what other opportunities might be out there? Because they're proven and they're on scale. Trevor, as we kind of final question here before we close out for both of you is, what's one thing you'd say to the industry as we look towards 2025? I know we've talked about people, but what's kind of that one experience share side that you wish that our industry took a step forward in a certain direction, or you think what is most critical outside of just the people side heading into 2025 to run a successful and sustainable operation?
I think, especially in the past week, it's resilience. I mean, there's 100 ways to the finish line in anything we do. What I love most about hospitality industry and restaurants is, at the end of the day, there is a solution and a solve for any problem that comes our way. But I just think it's so important that if we want to evolve as an industry, we just have to do things the right way. And taking care of our people and worrying about our culture and looking at our supplier partners and having people assist us with anything possible within the scope of hospitality allows operators to focus more on the more important things, which is our people. As much as I'd like to think I drive the guest experience, I don't. I can only hire people that can do that. And then that becomes everything. I know many organizations say the greatest asset, the greatest strength they have is their people. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to focus, hone in on it, be real with yourself and develop it. And that conversation is a two-way street. It's not top down. I think hospitality industry should be a matrix, not a hierarchy.
Love it. And Sarah, if there's anything you have to add around resilience, or what's it going to take to win this year, or just kind of what are you looking forward to for you and your team and your partners?
Yeah, I think, like you said, with ongoing cost pressures and everything going on in the world right now, I think controlling food costs, reducing waste through better menu engineering, and again, operational efficiency. Like I said, you really got to optimize your procurement through smarter purchasing strategies. And I think leveraging like I said, the data and technology, making informed decisions, and really utilizing programs like Entegra to maximize your savings is going to be really important.
And that's one thing that I'll leave. And I think what I'm taking from the conversation today is often when we consume content like we are today, it's like a funnel. So we have awareness at the top of the funnel, creates different choices, but we have two leaders who've moved from awareness and choice. Your leader, sometimes you spin around options and options, but how do we move down to a decision and an action? And how do we so the key thing is we can get more information about menu engineering, but how do we act on it? We can have better purchasing that we absolutely need right now. It's not a choice anymore to look at better solutions for purchasing based on inflation or shrinkflation and the wants and spending habits of our guests. So I just want to say I appreciate the both of you for sharing your experience today. There's so many takeaways from here. I've got a page of notes just listening to you both talk. And I'm sure that your insights supported the industry leaders that were with us today. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, Sarah, for being on today's episode.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Smart businesses are working with group purchasing organizations. Smarter businesses are working with Entegra. That's because we are much more than a GPO. We provide more experience, more product categories, and more operational solutions. Entegra is expert advice, quality and flexibility, purchasing power, and partnership to optimize your operations, elevating guest experience while saving on goods and services with the insights to keep your operations ahead. We know the challenges of operating in restaurants, lodging, senior living, golf, leisure, faith-based organizations, education, and acute care. So we provide services and solutions to help you maximize your profit margins. Save up to 30% on nearly everything you buy. From food to furniture, fixtures, uniforms, linens, capital equipment, services, energy, cleaning, and even training. Add in advice from experts who know your industry, and there's no better partner to take on inflation than Entegra. With a deep bench of procurement experts monitoring prices, contracts, and supply chains, we help you find cost-effective ingredient options that exceed your customers' expectations. At Entegra, your spend is always in your view and in your control, with data analytics and digital tools to ensure you're always getting the insights to operate more efficiently. Gain easy access to temporary and long-term staffing, your most frequently purchased products, and solutions for waste reduction and energy usage to keep your customers returning and your operations thriving. Unlock expert insights, unmatched purchasing, and unlimited performance for your business. Meet Entegra and see the difference today.